I'm joined by recent LPGA Tour card holder Robi Liti. Robbie, first of all, ciao. How are you?
Hi, Craig. Thanks for having me.
Well, come stai? How are you?
Bene, grazie. Te?
I mean, I'm okay. I mean this kind of like English slash Italian conversation is not going to run too smoothly, is it? So moving moving on swiftly. You've just come off a full season on the LPGA Tour. First of all, how did you find it? I take it was a overwhelming experience at times.
I mean, I I don't know if overwhelming is the right word, but it was definitely tough, It was a learning process. It was a big adjustment, from just coming from the Epson Tour. So I think it's a different experience for sure. It's a lot more golf. It's a lot more days of golf. So it was a long season, So it took a lot out of me, but it was a great overall it was a great year. I enjoyed every second of it for the most part.
Yeah, obviously, you kind of you had the experience already of playing LPG tour events, like a handful. Like obviously, you got a kind of full kind of playing card. Um, what was the kind of differences between then and now in regards to like did you change the way that did you change the way you kind of like approach the game as such? Well, in terms of like, practicing, getting travel arrangements sorted, etc.
Right. I mean, it was definitely like an adjustment when it came, to traveling, to practice hours. As I said, it's all 4-day events, and you're traveling either on Sunday night or on Monday. A lot of times I was in the pro-am on Wednesday, so you're trying to make the most out of the whole week, playing practice rounds Monday and Tuesday. So, when you're starting to play a few weeks in a row, you're just like traveling and playing golf every single day, So I mean, it was a big adjustment, I would say, from the year prior on the Epson Tour, where it's a lot. I mean, you start on Friday, it's less days of tournament, especially towards the last couple of years, and every course, so it's definitely a more it's a lighter experience than on the LPGA. And then you find yourself out there on the LPGA, and you think that all of a sudden you have to do more because you are on the LPGA, and you have to practice more and just be more prepared. And I think that's when things may start to go wrong, when you're trying to do too much.
Yeah. See, between the long travel days and stuff, like when you did get a little bit of downtime, like it could even be between a tournament. Like if you got a small bit of downtime, like how would you kind of like relax as such?
Well, you mean in my days off?
Yeah, well, either on a week off or like just to kind of combat, like the traveling hours. Like, say you were on a say you were on a flight. Like, what would you do to kind of combat the boredom and such? Because like that flights can be boring.
Right. Like, I like to watch shows, and I travel with my cat a lot. So, taking care of her was, definitely very time consuming on the flights, and it was, a lot of fun too. So, it's like a lot of time in airports, a lot of layovers, but I think in a way, when you fly, when you travel, it's like the only time that you actually have time for yourself in a way during the season. So I had the chance, to call my family and call my friends, and just like take some time to just like not think about golf, at least during all those travel days.
Yeah, no, for sure. So at the end of the year, you officially lost your tour card at the end of the year. and you had to go back to Q school. What was the whole Q school experience like again?
Yeah, it's like when, I found out that I had to go all the way back to second stage, it was definitely a little bit of I just had to take it in the chin and just like show up at stage two. And, I think I went into stage two of Q school with a lot of confidence, just knowing that, I was capable of making to final stage. And, so that in a way was a positive week because I played well, I was confident, and, it was like one of the best weeks of the year game wise. And then, like I was excited to make it to final stage. And I think like when I showed up there, it was very cold, and I was, you're a little bit, at least for me, like when I play in the cold, I'm a little bit outside of my comfort zone. And I kind of like got caught up in the whole like cold and like weather, chaos. So it was definitely a little bit like, I got caught off guard. And, it was like feeling like -2 Celsius the second day. And, I kind of lost the grip of things, and, things didn't go well. But, it's hard, Q school is a 1 week deal, and you just can't put all your hopes on 1 week. That's how I see it. I think you need to come from, like, you need to get, if you get to Q school, if you have to get to Q school, you need to get to Q school in a better spot after the season.
Yeah. I mean, I had a caddy friend that was over in Alabama for the final stage of Q school, and he was just telling me how cold it was as well. So yeah, I can imagine. I mean, I can imagine when it's like it going into the minus, it can be very off-putting.
Right. I mean, it's like it's one of those things that truly I was thinking back and I'm like, I don't think I've ever played any golf tournament on tour in those weather conditions, like that cold. It just not, a thing that happens very often. So I feel like I was thinking the last time I played in such cold was probably like during the training camps with the national team in the middle of December, in Italy. So I was, it was a different experience. You're just not used to playing in that cold. And, I mean, you obviously can play well. It's not an excuse, but it definitely makes things different. That's probably the right word.
Yeah, I mean, you would love it in Scotland, that's for sure.
When I played in Scotland, I always loved it because I don't mind playing in tough conditions like the wind and, the rain, but I never played in like particularly cold conditions. I always played in Scotland in the middle of the summer, and it was chilly and it was windy and it was rainy, but it wasn't -2, 3 degrees. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a normal day in Scotland, I'm afraid. But yeah, like
Yep.
even in the summer, it's like absolutely torrential rain and stuff like that. It's not
Yeah.
great. So you're originally from Siena in Tuscany. Um,
Yep.
what was so for anybody that's probably not familiar with your hometown of Siena, how would you describe it?
I mean, it's a beautiful, I would say town. It's not the size of Florence, but it's a really cute and beautiful small town. And, it's renowned for the Palio, which is a horse race that happens twice a year in July and in August. And I mean, I invite everybody to visit Siena. It's just so beautiful, and it's a different experience compared to going to a big city like, Rome or like Milan. It just a different experience. Is a more intimate experience. And, the horse race is a truly, truly unique experience if anybody has the chance to go watch it. I was there this summer, and, actually like one of the teams that are called Contrada, I follow, won the Palio. So that was a very, very exciting experience.
Yeah, I mean, I was saying briefly that I'd been to Firenze in 2022, And yeah, I just loved it. I mean, I think a lot of Tuscany is renowned for being severely beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good spot, you know, a lot of good wine, a lot of good food, and you know, pretty cities and small towns to see. So it's definitely a trip of a lifetime.
I mean,
I'm
I
here
mean, I was,
trying to sponsor people coming to to
yeah,
Tuscany, but yeah, no, it's truly worth it.
yeah. I mean, if anybody from, if anybody from Toscana are actually listening to this, I mean, you can try and get you can try and get people along to visit as a tourist. We'll try and make that happen. But yeah, I mean, in Firenze you've got like the weird what what's it called again? The weird bridge. Was it the Ponte Vecchio? Is that
Oh,
right?
the Ponte Vecchio, yes. Hmm.
Yeah, the Ponte Vecchio. That's a sight to behold. I mean, I went, I actually went across that when I was in Florence, and yeah, I mean, it's architecturally beautiful. I mean, like you don't see anything like it in the world. I mean,
Right.
it's crazy.
For sure, for sure. I mean, there is so many good spots. There is so much to see, and there is so much history to the city itself. So, I mean, I feel like even me, every time I go back, it's like such a beautiful experience, and you know, I grew up there.
Do you manage to go back to Firenze like a lot, or like when you go back home, or?
Yeah, yeah. My father lives there, so I'm there, like my grandma too. So I'm there a lot. You know, I spent a lot of time in Florence growing up, and I spent a lot of time in Florence to these days. So I mean, it's great for shopping. It's great just to be just immersed in, you know, the culture of the city.
So you went to the Arizona State University, so you're a Sun Devil, and you graduated in December 2018, if that is correct.
Yes, correct.
What was the decision making to go all the way over to Arizona? I take it, obviously, you've got the I think every young golfer's dream, to be fair, is to go to one of the world class colleges or universities that they have in the United States.
Right. I mean, you know, it's I think when I started thinking about going to the US for in Italy for, you know, the golf, you know, industry in Italy, like young athletes, young players had just started thinking about going to the US. So me with a bunch of other players were kind of the first wave of people that started going to college in the US. And, you know, for me, like I remember the coach at the time at Arizona State, which was Melissa Llewellyn, came to recruit in Europe at a European team championship, and she watched me play, and you know we just you know connected, and she said she had a scholarship for me, and she would have loved me to go there. And at the time, Julia Molinaro was playing for the team, and who was a good friend of mine, and still is a good friend of mine, and you know, like I had heard so many great things about ASU, and I had like some gadgets from Julia, and you know, it for me was like the dream, you know, to just go to Arizona State. I'd heard so much about it, and it's such a beautiful place. The history even of the golf program, the women, both women's and men golf program is so great that when I got offered a scholarship, I think I was 16, and I verbally committed right away. You know, I was like, that's exactly where I want to go. I'm not gonna waste any more time, you know, trying to see what else is out there. And you know, it was a beautiful experience. I would do it a million times over and over again.
So I take it when the tour, whether that be some of the times on the LPGA tour or like most of the time on the Epson tour, when it goes back to Arizona, you're completely comfortable with the style of courses and the conditions and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. You know, it's like there's nothing particularly like unique, I would say, about desert golf as far as grass and stuff like that. Obviously it's a different layout. It's beautiful. You have grass in the middle of the desert, but I think that it's just nice when I go back there to feel like you're a little bit in your second home. Because that was my home for 5 years, and I like, it was such a big part of, just my life, just growing up and becoming going from, a young adult to an actual adult. So it just feels like you're playing at home. For me, it feels like it almost feels like when I go back and play a tournament in Italy, I just feel like I'm in the right place. So that, I think, is what makes it a better experience for me.
So, in your time as a junior / amateur, it's fair to say you've got a very good resume. I mean, you're a 5-time Italian national champion. You played a couple of times in the World Amateur Team Championships for Italy. You played in the European Amateur Team Championships for Italy. You were a finalist in the British Girls Championship, third in the British Ladies Stroke Play as well. And at your time at ASU as well, you were also the Pac-12 Scholar Athlete of the Year, the NCAA Elite 90 award winner, and the WGCA All-American Scholar. So, is there any one of them achievements that you would say stand out the most?
Wow, that felt good. Just to hear them all at once. I'm kidding, but
Yeah.
I think
I mean, soak it up. Soak it up if you want. I don't know.
but I don't know. I think in a different way, there were a few that probably stand out as being like a little more significant than others in my, you know, career in general. I think, I feel I have a lot of pride in the national championships I won in Italy. I think, it was just like always. I remember just feeling very, very happy about all those wins, just like feeling like, you're like some of the best in your country. And to me, I have a lot of pride in that. But if I look at a little bit of the up and downs of my career, I think definitely the college win, the PGA ASU in 2017, was a little bit of a big, stepping stone, because at that point I wasn't playing well. I had come from a couple of years of just not solid golf, and I was struggling, like every player, you're struggling mentally, you're going through college, it's just a lot. And I remember winning that tournament. It was like truly a realization of like, I can do this. Like I can turn pro and I can pursue a career as a professional golfer. While until that point, I just wasn't sure at that point anymore what it was in store for me golf wise. And I think that week I truly, realized I belong out there and I could do that for, after college. And then after that, we went on to win the national championship with the team, and that was like just a great couple months back to back for golf. And then I remember the same summer we finished second in the European team championship with the Italian team. And that was just a good 2-3 months in my career that I think changed a lot my perspective on, my future as a professional. So I think that was a big achievement for me.
So see the week of these, the big the big national team championships as such. So like the world amateur and the European amateur. Obviously, obviously it's immense pride for you being an Italian to represent Italy. But what's the week like as a general? Is it like is it just a crazy week?
It's a very like emotionally draining week, I would say. I would say the European team championships probably a little bit more than the world championships, because in the European Team Championship, you're trying to first get it in the top 8, and then you're trying to win matches against other country. And I think like for us in Europe, you know that too. Like there is just a lot of pride in playing for your country, and you just want to do well for your country, and you just want to like beat other countries. And I think it was always, I remember I played, I think 8 European Team Championship, and every single one of them was just a special experience. Just try and be able to represent your country and just try to bring your country like on the top of Europe. So, and we never got to win, which was very sad, but we had a lot of good finishes, and it was just a lot of fun every time.
Don't hate me right now, but you can see something on the screen. For those that want to watch on YouTube, you'll see exactly what I'm on about. But at the minute, I've got on a retro AC Milan top, which Roberta does not like at all. She's looking at me in disgust, and yeah. Obviously, we'll talk about Calcio a little bit later on. But so when you were at Arizona State, was there any out with golf? Was there any real other sports that you enjoyed at that time, or that you were particularly good at?
I mean, I enjoy when I was at Arizona State just going to watch other sports, and I got into football, American football, which was a completely, new sport for me to just follow and find out about. But growing up, I played a lot of sports. I played soccer for a few years and I loved it. I just, came to a point where I had to pick whether to play golf tournaments or soccer matches on Sunday. And I decided to stick to golf. But I think I played just a lot of sports growing up. And, I think when you're out in college in America, you just, you're just immersed in this whole, athletic experience with so many sports and so many other athletes to go support that, I mean, I think it's a unique experience. I remember loving going with my teammates to just watch other sports. We went to watch tennis, gymnastics, went to watch soccer, softball. I mean, you name it, a lot of basketball matches. I mean, it was just a lot of fun, and it's so different from, what you get in Europe as far as the athletic experience. There isn't anything like that.
I'm gonna let you off on this occasion with the soccer, the proper football, but obviously now obviously out with America, it's football.
Right.
Or well, calcio if you're back in Italy, but nah, only kidding. But no, like for the Americans, that's the proper football. The one that you use with the foot and not what you use with the hands, etc. That's so-called egg chasing football. Yes, that's not proper.
Right, I agree. I mean, it's kind of funny they call it football because they don't use their feet a lot.
Exactly. And the one that you actually have to run with the ball at your feet and try to yeah. Don't get me started. It's horrible.
There's a
Well,
whole
not
going battle about European football and American football.
yeah, but yeah, we'll just leave it at that. We'll not go into it too much because yeah, obviously, when it comes to football, I passionately defend it. Like, obviously, it's proper football. You know what I mean? So.
Right. Rightfully so.
So, what was the decision making to turn pro then? So, it was in 2018. I take it. You had graduated from ASU, and I take it the next step was obviously to turn pro.
Yeah, for sure. I think before I even started my senior year in college, I just decided that I was gonna go to qualifying school for the LPGA in August of the following year, at the end of my senior year, and I just made that commitment before the year even started because I really didn't want to be emotionally involved with just the decision making. I think your senior year is already a lot that you don't want to just keep going back and forth in whether you're gonna turn pro or not. So I decided that I was gonna turn pro at the end of my senior year, and that I was gonna, try to get my LPGA card, or Epson Tour for the matter. But so then, at the end I finished my senior year, and I signed up for Q school, and I just went ahead and played 4 days of extremely hot golf in Palm Springs, I remember. And I managed to get through stage one, and then I got to stage two, and I finished in the top 60, and I got my full card for the Epson Tour, which to me was, a little bit of the goal, because I didn't necessarily think I was fully ready to play on the LPGA at that point. Although, like, you never know when you're ready until you're ready. But so I was, it was a little bit of a mission accomplished to just be able to get my full season on the Epson Tour for 2019.
So obviously, when you turn pro, kind of tell us what the first, so between 2018 and 2021, like the first few years on tour. Obviously, when you first turn pro onto the Epson Tour, what's the biggest change, like from turning pro on the Epson Tour, from all of the established like amateur events and stuff? Like, what's the biggest change in mindset?
I think, especially coming from college, I think it's a huge adjustment to play professional golf. You come from a world in which, you're either playing amateur tournaments mostly with college or with the national team. So you always have, an entourage of people that organize your travel, tell you when to practice, and, for how long, and organize your practices and organize your travel days, and your, everything that is around golf is fully taken care of by other people. And I think as soon as you turn pro, you're like, oh, I actually need to figure out for myself what I need to do, but mostly like what works for me. Because especially playing in college for a team, you kind of need to do what works for the team most of the times. You're going to do what works for you, but the general like practice schedules are around a team of 5 people. So once you're actually on your own and you're a pro, you're all of a sudden, I felt like I was thrown out there, and I'm like, how much am I supposed to practice, and how many holes of practice rounds should I play? And I think that was the biggest adjustment. On top of that, I had to all of a sudden book all my travel and all my accommodation, and trying to figure out to get from point A to point B every week. And I think the first season on tour was very overwhelming, and it was just a lot to take all at once. But and it didn't go well. I lost my card, and I think by the second year I was a lot more organized, and I had a system in place to do things in the most effective way. And I think every single year I played on tour was a learning experience of what can I do that truly works for me as a player, what truly benefits me out there. And I think, honestly, the time that I truly got to a clear idea of what truly was working for me was in 2023. Between 2022 and 2023 is when I truly understood what I needed as a professional golfer to perform at my best,
So take us through that kind of the journey between 2022 and obviously when finishing eighth on the Epson Tour money list in 2023 to gain your full tour card. Like, talk us through that kind of like couple of years.
Yeah, so like in 2022, I think, I started working with a new coach from Italy that, was very present and was, helping me a lot, Alessio. And it was coming to tournaments a lot. So I managed to prepare a lot better for my tournaments. And I think in 2022, I still ended up finishing probably 50th in the Epson Tour money list, but I feel like there were a lot of glimpses of really great golf, and I was in contentions a few times, and I just, didn't finish it up. And I think that year I went into Q school in 2022, hopeful that, something good had to happen, because every glimpse of goodness that I had in that season just didn't turn out well over the 3 days. And so I was very hopeful that something had to be in store for me. And the year I finished in the top 45 at final stage of Q school, and I got my LPGA card, which, although it was a conditional card, I think it just gave me this like boost of confidence of like, I am an LPGA player, like I belong out there. And I finally got, all these years of hard work finally got me here. And although like I didn't end up playing that many tournaments in 2023, I had at least the confidence that if I was going to play Epson Tour, I was very capable of being in the top 10. And although it was a tough decision to just be like, yeah, I can play probably 8 to 10 tournaments on the LPGA, but it's better if I focus on Epson to get my card for the following year, for this year. So I just decided, hey, I'm just gonna stick to Epson, and I'm just gonna make top 10, and then I'm gonna play a full season on the LPGA. And I mean, it all worked out, but it was just very stressful to have faith in my choice, because you can look at the other side and be like, okay, if I don't make top 10 on Epson, I'm gonna lose my LPGA card, and I'm gonna, like, what I've been waiting to do my whole life to play out there. Now, like, I just gave up on it to try to make top 10 on Epson, and I didn't make it. So it was stressful, it was very stressful, but sometimes you have to have faith that things are gonna work out.
Yeah, obviously that sense of confidence that you got from like the new coach and stuff. Like in that 2023, it all turned around obviously with 9 top 10s in that season, to with a tied second in there as well, to obviously finish 8th in the Epson Tour money list. When you look back on that 2023 with 9 top 10s, I take it there's a sense of pride with the way you conducted things.
What's that? Say again?
So in 2023, when you had 9 top 10s that season, to obviously to finish 8th on the money list, when you look back on that season in general, I take it there's a lot of pride with the way you went about things.
Yeah. I mean, it was, like, given all of the stress that I was under because of this continued back and forth of like, should I play LPGA? Should I play Epson? What's the right choice? I have a lot of pride in knowing that like I was able to tee it up on Friday every week, fully focused on what I was doing in the present, without my mind going all over the place on, all the things, all the rubbish that is like around in your brain trying to like confuse you and distract you from what you're doing, right? So it's, for me, was great to be able to like just fully focus on my Epson Tour season, play some solid golf, and and then truly feel like I was ready and I had a lot of confidence in my game moving into the LPGA.
And when it got confirmed that you had won your LPGA Tour card for 2024, how long how long after that does it take for the news to sink in as such? Like, you've worked your whole career to be at the top of the women's game.
Right.
Like did it take long at all to for it all to sink in?
I mean, I think everything just went very fast, because I finished second, tied for second, with 4 tournaments to go about on the Epson Tour, and I knew I was in a really good spot at that point to just earn my card. And that's when it was hard to finish second, because there is a lot on the line. And I think that's when it started to sink in that like like I just need to like just finish up the season, play some decent golf, and I've earned my card. And I think that once that happened, in my opinion, it was such a like, I finally let go of so much tension and pressure on my choice to play Epson that year, that it truly sunk in like very quickly. But honestly, it was also a relief that the season was finally over and I didn't have to stress over it anymore, if that makes sense. And then, I feel like as soon as you finish, you go like and you always look at what's next, which is a little bit of the hard part of professional golf. That is like sometimes you don't sit and sink in enough the moments. You just always keep looking at what's next. So I probably didn't even take enough time to let it sink in and just be happy about my accomplishment, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Also, how important is it for like a professional player like yourself for when times aren't going so well? Like, I'm going to use an example of like past the summer. Like, it's fair to say, for yourself, I don't think it was the greatest of times on the golf course. How important is it to have that, that close, support system of like your coach, your caddy Amanda, like how important is that? Like obviously when times are tough.
I think it truly, when things start going south, there is so much that starts going through your mind that it truly all comes to like who's your support system and like how much you can rely on them. And I feel extremely thankful, to just have had, my girlfriend Amanda on the bag for the whole year, and just know that there wasn't going to be a moving figure for me. It was like constant, just to know that I had her every week in and week out, and she was a huge emotional support on top of like, all the other, technical help that a caddy can give you. But just to know that you have somebody that truly cares about you, that is going to be there every single week, no matter what happens, and just to have that unconditional support, I think is just so important. I feel you see a lot of the players just changing caddies continuously and just like trying to find the answer and continually constantly looking for a new person, a new support system on the bag. And to me, just having her as my constant on the bag it was extremely helpful to go through all that emotional roller coaster. And then obviously the rest of the team that, was extremely like it was, supportive. And my coach, Alessio, was, always one call away, for anything that I needed. And then, my trainer, Danielle, and my mental coach, Paula, my putting coach, who's, one of my best friends, Camila, like everybody was just very present. And I think it's easy sometimes to fall into, your support system just starts falling apart because you start, to doubt everybody around you. And for me, I just know that I could count on them and they weren't the problem. I just asked for their help versus questioning if that was the right thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, definitely. I like obviously as a like when times are going tough, like some of the bad thoughts can come out on the golf course and stuff. So obviously to have that to have that close support group, yeah, it's obviously a big it's a big plus for you.
Definitely.
So talking about the LPGA Tour season, obviously it was a long season, and but is there a specific like tournament or city or like even country, like could have been the Asian swing or whatever, like that stands out to you, like that you enjoyed the most?
I think it was, a great experience to start the season in China. And, like it was a long trip and everything, but it was such a beautiful golf course and a beautiful resort. And it was just like just a great atmosphere to just start out the season, and just, be excited about what was next. And besides that, I think as far as golf courses, I think my favorite golf course I played this year was Upper Montclair for the Cognizant Founders Cup. And I just love the course. The last year I Monday qualified into that event, and I just love that course. And unfortunately, they won't be playing there anymore. But to me, it was just a great week. I played well. I love playing that course, and that definitely stands out about one of the best weeks of the year on tour. And then I feel like there are so many cool spots you go to and so many great golf courses we played, at KPMG with the major, but even like the Mizuho at Liberty National. Like it was a great experience altogether. But if I could pick 2 weeks that stand out to me, it's probably the Upper Montclair week and the China week.
What was it? What was it like in Canada? Like in Calgary? Was that your first time going to Canada as well? Or?
It wasn't my first time in Canada. Amanda is from Canada, so I'd been to Canada, but I'd never been to Calgary, and it's a beautiful spot. We got to explore a little bit around, around Calgary. We went to Banff, and the golf course was beautiful, and it was, unfortunately, like that's when things that started to go south for me on the golf course. So I'm not able to look at the week and, like just with a positive memory, I would say. But
Mhm.
I mean, the course was amazing. And I mean, it's just cool that we get to play in so many different countries and, areas. And, Calgary was beautiful, and the golf course was incredible too.
Yeah, I imagine like obviously when things aren't going well on the golf course, but you've got like Banff in the background, so you've got like Lake Louise in the background and stuff.
Right.
Like I take it, I take it things like that like make it all worthwhile.
Yeah, they do. I think sometimes you just need to truly stop and put things in perspective and realize what you're doing is like truly like a dream life, and you get to travel to these cool places. And sometimes golf isn't everything. And I think it's good to remind yourself, like, look around yourself and look where you are.
Yeah, no, for sure. And so Italian golf just now is having a little bit of a rise. Well, specifically, well, to be honest, obviously you've still got the likes of Francesco and Eduardo still on the tour. You've got the likes of Guido as well, like on the men's tour. But like in terms of the women's tour, I mean, like obviously you had yourself. You've got Benedetta Maresco who's just won a full tour card at Q School. You've got the talented Carolina Malgrati, is that right as well? Like very good amateur player. And you got the likes of Alessandra Finale on the LET as well. So, what do you think is the reason for seeing so many good young Italian players coming through?
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, it's like golf is truly not a big sport in Italy, and they're trying to grow it. But for how small scale it is, there are a lot of great players that come out of it. And there's so many great amateurs on the women's side that are growing up, and they're just eventually gonna turn pro. And I think it's truly like a testimony of the great system that the federation and the national team have in play to raise these young golfers to become, the top of their sport. And I think the federation invests a lot of time and money into like just putting together this great system. And I mean, I'm very thankful for my years on the national team and everything the federation has done for me to be where I am today. And I think that's truly something to be thankful for, because it's hard to play golf and travel all over Europe, and just having the support of the national team and the coaches and the expertise of professionals that help you become like a professional. I think it just truly the testimony of why there has been so many successful players come out of Italy. And given that, I mean, it's probably one of there just aren't that many golfers in Italy, so I think it's truly a testimony of that.
Yeah, I think when Francesco won the Open Championship and done what he'd done at Le Golf National as well in that year in 2018, where he went absolutely nuts, really put Italy on the map, I think, as well, in terms of like a golfing nation.
Oh, definitely. I mean, that was just so big for Italy, and just even the success that Edoardo has had, his brother, like not only in terms of playing, which he has had a great career, but just just being such a an influential figure in the golf world, with his statistics system and everything. It just like I think Italy is slowly growing, and definitely Francesco put us in the map, but there were so many great golfers that were just coming up. I mean, Matteo Manassero was an incredible talent when he was like 16, and I think when other countries look at the Italian golfers, I think they have a lot of respect for them, and that just says a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really glad you just mentioned Matteo there, because how can I forget one of my favourite players, Manacero and Guido, both together, are like two of my favourite players on the men's side of things. So thanks for that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I remember growing up watching Matteo play, and it just was so inspiring, and he was just a great talent. And I think everybody was cheering for him to just get back where he is today. And I think everybody is just so happy that he's back where he deserves to be.
Yeah, from the Alps Tour in 2020 to the PGA Tour in 2025, that is
Yeah,
that's a comeback story for the ages.
for sure.
So shall we chat a little Calcio?
Should we? I don't know. With the shirt you were wearing, I don't know.
I know you were going to point that out.
Yeah, I don't know if it's gonna
For
lead to any good, but go ahead.
yeah, so for anybody that is obviously listening on audio only, on the platforms, yeah, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, I'm currently wearing a AC Milan top, which Roberta does not like at all, being a Juventus fan. So yeah, talk us about your love for the old lady.
For my team.
Yeah, for Juventus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I like soccer is pretty much the only sport Italians care about, and that's safe to say. And that's all we watched growing up, and everybody is just like a huge fan of football, actually. And so I grew up, and like a lot of my family members were big, fans of Juventus, especially my grandpa and my grandma. And so I grew up, supporting, on top of like Siena, which is like my hometown, but they weren't in the main league for very long. But besides that, I grew up supporting Juventus, and it was just like, to me, I just, some of the best memories I have of my childhood is to watch soccer on Sunday, and just with my grandparents, with my family, and just all the all the rivalries that there are between like Italians, different teams, and every Italian just feels so strongly about their soccer team. And so I mean, it's great, and it was a lot of fun to cheer for a winning team. Like Juventus has just won a lot, and I don't think many other Italian teams can say the same. I have to say that.
Unlike Milan, but yes. um, I'm a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little bit disappointed when you said when you said you liked Juventus instead of Siena. I expected you to be a Siena fan, to be honest, like a proper, old school, like Siena, like obviously hometown. Yeah, I was a little bit disappointed.
Yeah, like my father is very disappointed because he's, from Florence, so he's a Fiorentina fan, and
Yeah.
that's a big rivalry between Fiorentina, or more, I would say, like people from Florence, hey, Juventus fans. So like, my father is always very disappointed for my soccer, likings, but I feel very prideful in that.
Yeah, I mean, Fiorentina do have a lovely purple kit. It's a lovely colour. I do love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what who were your favourite kind of players growing up then? Like when you were watching Serie A back in the day. I take it the likes of Buffon and Del Piero and
Right.
Cannavaro, players like that.
Yeah, I was definitely like watching a lot of soccer when, they were the stars of Juventus, and then they became the stars of the national team when we won the World Cup in 2006. And I remember that World Cup so well and so vividly. I watched every single game, and I wasn't so old. I was like, I was only like 11, but I just remember watching every single game, and it was just a wonderful, wonderful just win for the country. I mean, still to these days, it's very talked about, as you can imagine.
Yeah, I was going to say, is Fabio Grosso still doesn't have to pay for a drink in Italy, no?
Probably not. And, for a player like him to just pull together all that he did, I mean, it was incredible because it was a great player, but it wasn't the star of the team, and just, it just got a lot of, I really don't think it has to pay for dinners or drinks still to this day.
I mean, to be honest, like, yeah, like I totally agree. He was a great fullback, but like in terms of like the star names of that whole '06 World Cup squad, I mean, like it's just like name after name after name that were unbelievable. I mean, obviously Buffon, Cannavaro, Nesta, Pirlo, Gattuso, who else?
Totti
Totti,
was, yeah.
Totti, of course, at the time, De Rossi. I
Hmm.
mean, you just name them all. You know what I mean? It's just like it's just a superb team. Zambrotta, the other side, as
Hmm.
well. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, just such a complete team. I think was Inzaghi in that squad at the time as well. I think I can't remember. I thought it was maybe
Yes,
a little bit.
yes, yes, yes. It definitely was. I think he scored on one of the games, actually.
Oh, Filippo Inzaghi as well. What a
Yeah.
what a striker he was as well.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great
So
team, and just, they lined up just a great week where everybody just played incredible football.
even when even when you had like the star Milan players in the team, you were still willingly supporting them, like Pirlo, Gattuso. I take it, yes.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Pirlo ended up playing a big Juventus player too. That's, where he ended his career. So, all the greats somehow just went through Juventus at some point.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I believe obviously with you being in the States now, you're not too fully like focused on like Juventus nowadays. Like they are going through a little bit of a transition period from all the star players that they had, like they no longer have. But like obviously being in the US, that must be hard for you to keep, track as such.
Yeah, just really hard. It's practically impossible to find Serie A games here in the US. So, like for a little bit I tried to find games through like, streaming platforms, but, then it's just hard to keep up with it. So yeah, unfortunately I kind of fell off the loop in the last few years since I moved to the US, but, I still, like I still, support them in my core. I just don't watch the games, unfortunately.
Did they did they not show like did they not show like the games in sports bars in the States at all? Like is
Well, they
that not
mostly they mostly show the, Real Madrid and Barcelona games, and they show the,
the
the
English
Premier
Premier?
League. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and that's about it, which is fair. There are so many different leagues. But so yeah, it's there is I don't think there is any way to watch any of the games unless it's Champions League.
Yeah, no, that's yeah. To be honest, that sounds about right. To be fair, which is a shame. Obviously, when you are an Italian in America, like you want to try and keep tabs on like Serie A and stuff. For
Right.
them to show it's a little bit strange to be honest, because it's still a very very competitive and great league.
Right. No, for sure. For sure. I just think that also in general, like, not a lot of Americans watch soccer. So like, there isn't very much, revenue for them to show Italian soccer.
Yeah,
And
too,
the few
too
Americans
busy.
that watch soccer, they watch, the Spanish and the English one. So
Yeah, too busy watching egg chase and yeah, yeah,
that's right.
that type
Yeah.
of supposed football.
Yeah. Yep.
So, so the last kind of questions from me about well, in regards to the golfing side, is what's going to be next for you next year for Robi Liti?
I'm gonna be back playing full time on the Epson Tour, and I'm just gonna work really hard to make my time there short and sweet. I think I have in a way an overdue win to still get on the Epson Tour, so you know next year is gonna be a chance to achieve that and just move back to the LPGA and truly, use next year as a full transition period to be actually ready for everything I need to perform at my best on the LPGA in 2026. So yeah, that's what's next.
So I take it like if you were to finish in the top 10 next year, um, or even I think it might even be top 15. I'm not sure, but well, definitely top 10. Like if you were to finish there to go back to the LPG tour this time round, you'll be maybe better prepared as such.
I think so. I think everything is part a little bit of the journey and the process to just get better. And I think, this year I got a real taste of what it's like to perform well out there. And, I think, you learn it, some people learn it better, some people learn it the hard way. So, I learned it the hard way by losing my card. And, but yeah, I mean, I think you learn a lot every year. I think I learned so much. So definitely I can only, use this year to be better prepared for then, my next season on the LPGA.
So how much are you looking forward to going back to Siena for Christmas?
Very much looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to just stuff my face with Italian food and, enjoy all the festivities and all the food that is gonna come with it. And then, just come back to the US and start truly preparing for the season. And I think it's gonna be a good time for me to leave my clubs here in the US and just, take some time off to rest and relax and not think about golf for a couple weeks.
What did a what does a traditional menu like for an Italian Christmas look like?
Um, Usually on the 24th at night we do a seafood dinner, and then on the 25th at lunch we do a meat dinner. So that's the tradition, you know.
No, fair enough. Seafood, not a great fan, to be honest.
You wouldn't be disappointed.
Yeah, too busy. Yeah, too busy thinking of all the food that I'm going to eat at Christmas as well. So,
Right.
so, so obviously, Buon Natale, when it comes.
Grazie. Merry Christmas to you.
Grazie mille. And obviously, so guys, if you haven't seen already about the news, that obviously Chasing Pals Golf Podcast has been nominated in the final shortlist for the Sports Podcast Awards at the end of January. I've had great feedback so far and support so far from many people. I'd like to keep the momentum going as we try and get as many votes as I can to obviously at least challenge the big boys in terms of the golf podcasting world. At the minute, I believe I'm probably the only one that tries to, obviously consistently get the best of the best LPGA Tour players as well. Like it could be from all levels. It's something I thoroughly enjoy, and yeah, for those that enjoy the podcast, obviously, if you if you listen and download on Podbean and Apple Podcasts, that would be great. And if you could leave a review as well, that would also be fantastic. Robi Liti, it was a pleasure. Best of luck next year on the Epson Tour as you try and find your way back to the LPGA Tour. Enjoy Christmas, and it was great to chat.
Thank you so much, Craig. I really appreciate you having me on your podcast, and Merry Christmas to you.
Yeah, Buon Natale.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye. See ya.